Hey guys, what is going on? It is Ando, and today's video is going to be centered around the road ahead. Now, this was a very big road ahead, not only in the size of the actual road ahead, like text-wise, but just in general with the state of the game, knowing what the direction of the game is going to go after kind of the presumed Galactic Legends that we got. So, I'm splitting this one up into two videos because of the size of how big this road ahead is. So this one will focus mostly on the road ahead. Then I will also do a kit breakdown, kit reveal of the new Boba Fett. So if that stuff interests you, make sure you guys hit the sub button so you guys don't miss out on that video. I'm looking forward to talking to that kit with you guys. And so if you guys like these videos, make sure you guys hit the like button, as it definitely helps get the video out there. Throw in a comment as well, as it definitely, again, puts towards the algorithm that says this is a good video. And then just it's good feedback for myself as well. So because of the size of this road ahead, guys, I am not going to spend a ton of time like reading through, as one of my guildmates said, I'm not going to read it word for word, because we'd be here at my reading level for probably like 2 years. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys the highlights, and kind of the main takeaways and the things that I find really, really positive, or sometimes, in some ways negative, with some of the stuff. So let's get right into it, guys. So they've talked about how they're going to go into these phases of the gear crunch and address it. And this road ahead is, this title update that we're about to get, and the road ahead kind of speaks to at least phase one of that operation, as I guess if they want to call it by phases. The big thing is, now in our daily quest, how you get a prize box at the very end of it, with some Cairo text. There's going to be 4 to 7 of the salvages of one of these, and that's important to note. It's just one. But it is the stun gun, the Mark III Carbonti, the Mark III stun cuffs, and the Mark V droid collars, and then the Mark VIII eyeballs. Come on, guys, we gotta maintain that proper nomenclature for that. It's not a biotech implant. It is definitely the golden eyeballs. So those are all very difficult gear pieces to get, and so they're going to be giving us, a small amount per day through just completing our dailies. That part is nice in of itself, but really the big part here is right here, this weekly gear challenges. Now, this was something we actually asked for probably 2 years ago in the dev Q&A sessions. We always asked if they could update the gear to what is more needed at the time. And they usually always said no, quite honestly, which is why we're in the place that we're in now. But I just want to direct your attention over here. I think Mace Windu's gear challenge was the worst before, but now is the best. We are now going to be getting Mark V stun guns, and then the Mark VIII golden eyeballs from that. And we already had the golden eyeballs from, I think, the STR, but now we're going to get the I guess the blueprint portion of it. And so that's going to be really, really helpful, getting those two pieces. As far as the agility gear challenges, we're now going to get the stun cuffs for them. And then as far as the strength, we're now going to get the droid collars from that as well. So they are definitely coming up with multiple avenues of how to address this. And this is just, I think, the two probably most positive for, I would say, people at large. Now, they are making a few changes for I'd say, the newer and mid-tier level, players. And those changes are really coming down to the boxes at the end of any event. Specifically, the ones that they mention are Galactic Challenges and TB, but I imagine that it's probably going to kind of cycle through a lot of the game modes that we currently have. So one of the big things that they're really focusing on is the max rewards are going to kind of stay the same, but for each crate, they're going to reduce the amount of kind of cutoff that each one of them are giving. So it's not going to feel like a big difference if you get crate 5 or crate 7. It's going to feel a little bit more, as they call it, rounded. So that's kind of what they're talking about as far as, gear as far as, old players, newer players, mid players, and just really everyone. They're also talking about within phase one, increasing the hard node probability for gear drops. Now, this to me is nice, but it's not really like the way that most people get their gear through hard nodes. They usually get them through normal nodes. So that's to me a little bit less noticeable in the long run. But the other thing that they're going to do is they're going to kind of devote a shard shop spot for some of this newer or some of this core gear, as they're calling it. Now, if I could make it a suggestion, I would hope that this spot is much similar to like Grievous, where you can get 5 or up to, I think, 30 pieces of that. I'd say like my big argument against the shard shop right now is sometimes it's just absolutely great. It's just what you need at the very end, right? You're at like, 46 out of 50 and you just need that a little bit more, but you're done with energy and all that good stuff. But the problem I see right now with the shard shop is like most times you're sitting at like 14 out of 50 and really what you want is that nice boost. You want to just throw on that last piece. And this is one of those ways. I mean, it's only refreshed, I think, 4 times a day. You're most likely sleeping during an entire spot of that. And so really, you're probably not going to see all 4 sets of it. And, the chances of the gear that you need is, it's a little bit slim. So I don't know. I feel like if they just put that one spot, and again, they can vary it, 5, 10, 15, 20 kind of thing. It would definitely help at least feel like we're speeding it up quite a bit. But the big thing to take away with gear, guys, and I said this in multiple videos and multiple streams, is that it's not going to be something that just happens overnight. They're not going to implement these changes and all of a sudden all your stun gun needs are satisfied and everything's great. It's going to be something that takes 6 months, a year. And I remember that Mark IV stun guns used to be really, really difficult for me to get. And now all of a sudden I have, 1,000 of them and I don't know really what to do with them other than to relic them. So I guess what I'm trying to say is just have a little patience. It's gonna be better, but it's not gonna be great for, the next day kind of thing. So that's a big thing with the gear. They did talk about calendars, and I'll briefly touch on this stuff, guys, because they didn't really offer a ton of elaboration on some of this stuff. But basically, you can tell that they're about to increase the number of login rewards and calendars and stuff like that. Now, I've seen a lot of games do this before, so this is nothing new. And they full on admit that some of them you'll have to pay for, some of them will be free, some of them are just going to be special occasions. They're kind of leaving that door open, but I do think that this is going to be a really big part of their monetization. It usually is, like whenever you can say, hey, they used to offer a pack, honestly, that was I forgot what it was, like log in for 20 days, you get crystals for them, and that used to be really great and it was a great deal, and then it went away. So I don't know, we could see something like that, like a crystal calendar thing, right, come back, and where you log in and every single day you get 150 crystals, and so it just helps aid the everyday farming kind of stuff. So that could be something that we see in the future, of course. But again, I'm not going to touch too much on calendars because they didn't really talk too much about it either. But just know that it sounds like we're going to get some more rewards. We're going to get some more stuff. So anything that's free is great, right? Okay, so let's talk about mode-specific characters and abilities. So they are coming to the game, and this is probably the spot I think of most contention. I'll talk to you guys a little bit about my thoughts on it, but the basic overall gist of this is we are going to have these new abilities, and every single time that I try to actually pronounce it, I know how to pronounce it, but I try to pronounce it and I say it wrong. So we're gonna call it the Omicrons. Basically these are like Zetas 2.0, except for the Zetas only work in certain game modes like Territory Wars. They haven't confirmed any of the other things, but I could see Conquest and Territory Battles, and maybe even GAC. Like, I don't know. We don't know what all it's going to be limited to or what it's not going to be limited to. But right now, we know for sure that it's going to be Territory Wars for sure. So, what I'm going to say about this is I'm interested, I'm curious, I'm also hesitant, and I will explain why. I think it does, I think there is something to be said when a character excels at one area or multiple areas in the game, but really excels at one. And that's nothing new in this game. There are people that we just use for the Sith raid. There are people that we have just used in certain scenarios, or that their abilities have changed based in raids or anything like that, or against Galactic Legends now. So that part I have no problems with. The problem that I can see, or why I guess I'm hesitant a little bit, is that some of these game modes, especially the one that they've confirmed right now, Territory Wars, is a very competitive game mode, especially as you get up to the top. Now, with Territory Wars, especially after the changes that they just made, there's a lot to lose, right? And you don't want to lose that game mode anymore, at least not like a lot of people were okay with before. And with all this being added, this just seems like this adds another level of complexity. And I know we all joke around. I know we all make fun of, CG for sometimes like it seems like the inability of testing or lack thereof or whatever the case is. And this seems like another avenue of where this is going to mess up. I mean, how many times I think Basileus Shahan Fallen was out for like 2 years, and they were like, yeah, I don't know why, but after this update, she's just completely bugged. I mean, same thing with Malik. There was like things where he was not, his AI wasn't attacking properly. And I mean, these were just casual updates that were happening. And it took us a while to kind of figure out what's happening. I mean, there's other stuff that's happening. SLKR can't kill and perma kill people, which then led to different counters happening. Now, again, being competitive in some of these game modes, specifically the PvP style ones, TW, GAC, if we start having characters that are supposed to do something and then they don't do something, or coincidentally they or likewise maybe they do something in TW but then and they're not supposed to do something in GAC but now they're doing it in GAC too. This is where I think there's going to be a lot of growing pains in this area. Like I just can see it right now, and so that's why I'm just a little bit hesitant of like what it's going to do. And there's an added complexity for us as well as the players, right? You're going to have to remember like, hey, this guy only is super meta in GAC, and he's not that great in Territory Wars. He's not that great in TB or whatever the case is, or he's not as good. And so there's just a whole new level of complexity. And sometimes complexity is good. Sometimes it's just a little bit over the top. So that's a little bit kind of why I'm hesitant on this right now. But the quick way that we can talk about like, hey, how are you going to get them? They've told us that, hey, it's primarily going to be rewards from galactic challenges, but a small amount can also be earned in Conquest and from Cantina nodes, which is interesting to me. It maybe sounds like the drop rate for them would be something like the Omegas, like in the later stages. Weekly shipments are also going to provide it for Shard Shop currency, and this is basically the initial one while they build up their library. Now, I mentioned Zetas for a reason, and the reason why is because this reminds me a lot of Zetas, guys. I don't know how many there is. It looks like maybe 10. Yeah, it looks like 10 or so, or maybe 11. So there was, when Zetas first released, guys, they were really good, but they went to really bad characters, and that was really awesome to see. Kind of much like Relics, if you guys were around for that part too. Relics, they made a lot of not so awesome characters be pretty good, and that was awesome to see. The problem is then, especially with Zetas, people started applying them and to these, we'll just call it less than ideal characters, and eventually, as time went on, people or Zetas got better, right? And all of a sudden, the Zeta that you add on Captain Phasma doesn't look as good as the Zeta that you can add on to CLS. And again, this game has always been about, hey, what you commit to a character is also you kind of taking away from others, right? Like you're not going to be able to commit that to someone else. So it's a resource management game. Um, and yeah, the first few, like, they made the characters good and everyone was all happy. And then all of a sudden, like I said, the Zeta, there was like a Zeta power creep. And now it's like the Zetas are so valuable, but we have tons of them. And so just something for you to think about, right? Like, don't be surprised. I'm not saying to not add any. I'm just saying that the first ones, they'll probably make someone really, really good. But the problem is that they're probably going to get better with time. And so, yeah, I don't know. Just throwing that out there. Okay, so Conquest, they basically have mentioned that we are getting this new Boba Fett for Conquest 10, 11, and 12. The new Conquest is going to be starting November 1st. Very, very fast turnaround. Very, very surprised because, let's be honest, Conquest still is not a bug-free game mode. There were this last one, there were still data disks that weren't working. There were feats that weren't counting. And so I don't want to see them rush to failure because I don't think that they can really afford that right now, but they are the ones that make that decision. So it's going to be Bounty Hunters theme. Very, very obvious, I guess, by it being for, this new Boba Fett scion of Django. I know a lot of people are calling him Dad Bod Boba Fett. Like I said, I'm not going to read too much into his kit, but he is the first one that we're getting other than these ones, that are basically kind of getting I wouldn't call it a rework, but they're getting, those guys are already in the game. He's the first one we're truly getting that is coming to us with this Omegacron ability that is going to be, game mode specific. So he's kind of the first one, and they've already said that he is going to be really, really good in TW. Again, we're not going to go into his kit because I plan on doing another video for that, but he looks pretty interesting, to say the least. Now, with him coming in, you're going to bump out cat. There will no longer be cat shards in the end box crate thing, but you're still going to get Maul shards for those of you guys that didn't max out Maul. And I know they talked about ways that they're going to release some of those, Razor Crest and Commander Sokotano, but I don't think they actually mentioned anything in this. The other thing that they added was an easy mode, so that's really great for the new players because a lot of times you just get stonewalled and you couldn't get any really good rewards from normal mode, so it was just more like, that's great, but really the guys that need a lot of gear and help are, we want them to progress fast. So I'm glad that they created an easy mode. With the hard mode, they created a different path. It's kind of hard to explain, but they created this path. You can kind of enter into it and you can exit out of it with no repercussions. But once you exit out of it, you can't re-enter it. And it says that you're going to get increased rewards if you choose to take this path. That's a little bit probably more difficult, but again, we don't really have specifics on what exactly it's going to be. I made a video about how we were going to get a battle pass. It's 100% true. Right now, based off what I can see here, guys, like if you're an 8 million or 7 million account, like you're probably not going to need this $29.99 one. But really, for those that have, 4 or 5 GLs, the stamina regeneration is really not going to be that big of a deal. And for the Conquest energy regeneration, you might as well just, spend a few crystals instead of spending the money. Now, the $9.99 one is probably one where you look at the rewards, right? And these are, obviously examples. Maybe they're real, maybe they're not. I don't know. But you're going to get more gear from it, right? And that is one that is probably going to be most popular with everyone across the board. But this one right here, I think will really apply to people that, have one galactic legend and they can get through it, but they need that stamina regeneration and all that good stuff. So just throwing those options out there. But this is the big thing with Conquest, and this is what I really, really, really want to highlight. And I just Like, this is amazing. So, in addition to these changes, we made several updates to the balance and structure of the map. We have heard your feedback. Heck yeah, guys. On feats, and this map's configuration will shift more to having more combat nodes overall and less emphasis on feats, which is, again, such a huge thing for me. The feat grinding afterwards was what killed it for me personally. It's okay. I had, to be honest, I had some fun going through the nodes and just figuring out what I needed to do to make sure that, I 3-starred it or whatever the case was. But what sucked afterwards is you finish the last node, you're like, sweet, I think you think you're done, and you look up at the ticket counter and you still have like 100 tickets to go, and that's like really, really demoralizing. So I'm super, super glad that they seem to have at least taken back some feedback here. And I very much look forward to at least seeing what that feedback is or what that feedback produced for us. So, and the last thing that they talked about is, hey, Galaxy of Heroes is turning 6 years old, which is just absolutely amazing and fantastic. For those of you, like, if you actually think about a mobile game lasting for 6 years, that is just absolutely crazy. We're gonna get a bunch of double drops. I'm not gonna lie, like the amount of rewards. I hate to sound like oh wow, this is bad. It's great. Honestly, it is great. There's a lot of gear in here. There's a lot of stuff and relic materials and modding stuff, and they really seem like they upped that stuff. But in years previous, it seemed like they really offered up like a get to, Kenobi and Malevolence and Gas and Malik, right? Some of the stuff that people were really choked up on. But I guess, you get some Bad Batch shards, which is cool. And like I said, they really seem like they kind of increased that gear amount here because they're giving you two of each. So all that being said, like, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that, like, if you're expecting like a get, character, it doesn't seem like that's happening. Now, last but not least, guys, and again, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video, but I want to really ask you guys what you guys think. They basically said, hey, huge thank you, which is nice. This is one thing that I actually always appreciate at the end of a post. Because they didn't used to usually do this, quite honestly. They didn't thank us, which, again, like, I don't want to sound, so needy, but it's just a nice gesture to throw out, right? A thank you is always, the game hasn't been the best. They probably know that. It's nice to just say, hey, thanks, guys, for sticking out and hanging out with us. But basically, they said the crazy part is that this isn't even everything coming over the next 3 months. I would expect that, like, some of this stuff that they're talking about the next 3 months, some of the things that they didn't mention, but they've mentioned previously, is like, where's the heroic Sith raid sim, and stuff like that. There were some other stuff that they talked about, but they haven't really shown us any kind of headway on. But we have more in store for you as we move on from the Clone Wars era. So, like I said, I knew that the Clone Wars era was coming to an end, but this is the part that confuses me, guys. Content and onto something that you'll never expect. Okay, so hear me out, guys. We're getting Dad Bod Boba, right? Book of Boba Fett is coming out in December. I mean, what? I feel like the writing is on the wall that we're getting a bounty hunter themed, Conquest. I feel like the writing is on the wall that we're gonna get, Book of Boba content or just bounty hunter scoundrel content. But this part just throws me off. I just don't know. I don't know if they're being sarcastic. I don't know what. So I'm asking you guys, what do you guys think that we're gonna be getting? What do you think that they're saying that we're never going to expect? That just throws me off so much. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys liked the video. If you guys stuck it out to this point, I thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. Hit the like button if you guys did enjoy it. Hit the subscribe button if you guys want to support the channel and help us grow, help us get to the 1,000 subscriber goal. And have a great day, guys, and we'll see you guys in the next one.